As sure as the spring will follow the winter, prosperity and economic growth will follow the recession. We have no idea who said this, but hope is a strong word. Number 10. Forecasts of declining economic growth. With everything else that is going on in the world, the last thing we need is a recession. But recent signs have not been optimistic, starting with the global forecasts of declining economic growth from the superpower to the developing countries. Consumer prices have been rising steadily in the last couple of years due to inflation, and have been forecast to continue. And this makes many people tighten their belts and stop spending as much as they were before. The rise in gas prices certainly has made things more difficult. This is because there has been a decline in product manufacturing, which causes the demand to get higher than the supply, hence soaring commodity prices. The government can spur economic growth in several ways, such as cutting healthcare costs, relaxing or removing unnecessary and unclear laws that affect businesses and innovation, among others. This will help reduce the impact of the recession and turn the global economy around. It may not happen overnight, but taking small steps to heal the economy will turn it around. Number 9. Currencies are in trouble. When we experience a looming economic downturn, currencies take a plunge, which could be a sign of a recession. A currency crisis is caused by a sharp decline in the value of a country's currency, which negatively affects an economy by creating unpredictable exchange rates. This means that the amount you were spending to buy a certain item previously is no longer enough. For example, if shopping worth $100 was lasting you 2 weeks before the currency crisis, the unit price of an item goes up after the crisis, which means that shopping worth $100 wouldn't last you as long as it did. What's more, where there is no confidence in the country's economy, many investors withdraw their money. They then sell their local denominated investments, which they then turn into foreign currency, which is known as capital flight. This withdrawal and conversion can cause the exchange rate to get even worse, which makes it nearly impossible for the country to finance its capital spending. During the 2008 recession, the UK experienced a significant depreciation in the sterling pound, which fell over 25% from 2007 to July 2009. Still, the dollar and the euro were less affected by that recession. The disadvantage of a country's falling currency is that it becomes less appealing for investors to put their money in and move to countries that have higher interest rates. If the investors pull out, the currency falls in value, which puts it at a risk of a recession. Number 8. Skyrocketing inflation. No one has failed to notice the absurd rate at which prices have been rising. From gas prices to food, healthcare, and prices for other essential products. There has been a lot of talk about negative economic conditions globally, and the rising inflation has not helped matters. When the inflation rates become too high, it proves problematic and can severely impact the economy. And if the Federal Reserve increases interest rates too rapidly to lower inflation by slowing economic activity, it can have adverse effects on economic growth, which can trigger a recession. A measure of inflation is the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, which includes things that consumers use daily, such as food, transportation, housing, healthcare, and clothing. Inflation causes the prices of these things to go up, which makes them way more expensive to afford. When the prices shoot up, this means that the consumer has less money to spend on goods and services, which means that they have to adjust their spending habits to stretch their savings and still afford the basic things. This causes slow economic growth, which may force businesses to close, contributing to unemployment. Unemployment is one of the major indicators of an impending recession. Several factors cause inflation, which includes demand pull inflation is when the demand is higher than the supply, caused by increased government spending or tax cuts. Cost push inflation, this type of inflation happens when raw material prices go up, and the companies have to increase the prices of their products due to the high cost of production. These costs land in consumers' hands, causing inflation. High inflation rates can be a sign of recession because manufacturers and other businesses reduce production when the costs go up and increase the price of commodities. If the government continues to hike the rates to curb the rising inflation, it can affect consumer spending, which can trigger a recession. Number 7. Housing prices fall. The decline in prices of housing is one silver lining during a recession that you can take advantage of if you're looking to purchase a house. During the recession, the value of real estate decreases because there is a low demand for housing. Some homeowners sell on short notice because they want to get out from under a mortgage without having to pay the high interest rates. Did you know that across the United States, there was a housing market recession in July 2022? The National Association of Realtors published some data stating that sales were down 5.9% in July of 2022. Factors such as increased interest rates by the Federal Reserve and increasing construction costs prevented many buyers from making purchases. But when housing prices go down, the real estate business suffers long after the recession has come and gone. When the Great Recession hit in 2007, the housing market plummeted, which caused many people to lose their homes. Many defaulted in paying their mortgage, and a lot of people experienced foreclosures, which crashed the market. When the housing market starts to fall or decline in value, it could trigger a recession. Number 6. Stocks plummet. As we mentioned earlier, when investors smell a decline in stock interest rates, they take their money and run for the hills. This is because when there is the fear of a recession, the investors worry that the markets may become volatile and cost them a lot of money, which causes them to pull out. When the economy is at its peak, the GDP grows steadily upward, which is reflected in stock prices, and investors enjoy an increase in dividend payments. But after experiencing substantial growth, income begins to decline due to different causes, which triggers a downturn, which causes the stocks to take a fast nosedive. When investors sniff a stock nosedive on the horizon, they are more likely to pull out their investments and invest them in a country that is giving them higher interest rates. This causes an economic downturn, which could be a telling sign that the world is heading for a recession. Number 5. War. War has serious repercussions, from the loss of lives and property to serious, long-lasting economic downturns. This is caused by damage to infrastructure, a steady decline in the working population, a rise in debt, and more importantly, disruption in daily economic activities that fuel the world's economic growth. War leads to a lower capacity to produce goods and services, which causes demand to be higher than supply. This leads to inflation and a decline in people's savings. For example, during the U.S. Civil War, the Confederation had difficulties meeting the cost of war and started printing money to pay soldiers' salaries, which caused the value of money to decline, hence causing inflation. There is also a rise in debt during a war, which can take a lot of time to pay off after the war is over. During World War II, UK's national debt rose to 240% by the early 1950s, which took them many decades to settle. In retrospect, war can trigger a recession due to the cost of military spending and rebuilding nations after the fact. Number 4. High interest rates. The global economy runs on money, and when money rises at a rapid rate in the form of an interest rate, economic growth slows down or comes to a standstill, which could trigger a recession. When interest rates rise sharply at a rapid pace, more often than not, it is the reaction of the central bank to high inflation. This affects investments and economic planning, which causes fear, making many people hold on to money, which slows the economy down. Raising the interest rates also affects employment because when the bar is raised for investment, it may slow down or discourage the creation of new jobs, restrain growth in consumption, and as we all know, if demand drops, companies reduce output and lay off employees. Without steady economic growth, a recession may be on the horizon. Number 3. Reduction in wages. When a recession looms, companies look for ways to control demand for goods and services that they offer, which results in laying off people to reduce costs. When workers have been laid off, they don't go gallivanting around town. They try to stretch the dollar as far as it can go, which causes them to spend less. When people spend less, the demand for goods and services weakens, which causes companies to cap hiring, making it more difficult for newly unemployed people to find any jobs. This keeps them unemployed for much longer, which slows economic growth. If there is no economic growth, it's a pretty good indicator that the world is headed for a recession. This is because when there is employment, there is consistent growth in the economy, and laying off people results in lower demand, which negatively affects the economy. Number 2. Poor job markets. Poor job markets can contribute to a recession because if there are no jobs, the demand is not meeting the supply, which causes the cost of production to rise, and in turn, the businesses increase their prices, costing the consumer more money for fewer products. Because there is not enough work, the unemployed people spend less money, which forces companies to make fewer sales. When revenue declines, companies look to cut their least efficient activities, such as stopping the production of low-margin products or reducing employee compensation. They may also try to cut costs by reducing the number of employees, which means that getting jobs in other places becomes difficult because the job market is in decline. Poor job markets also cause employers to be pickier, which may cause them to force down wages. And if people don't get enough wages, they don't spend any money, which means the economy will not experience growth. This causes economic stagnation, which is a contributing factor to the risk of a recession. Before we get into number 1, make sure to check out the links in the description for our best recommendations to boost your savings. Number 1. Warnings from experts. Are we heading to a recession? In recent months, there has been loud talk about a looming recession that could go well into 2023. According to Forbes, consumer spending has continued to show signs of cooling, and officials doubled down on their attempts to cool inflation by slowing down the economy, making more experts warn that it will inevitably take a recession to cool the rising prices. Gregory Dekowith, EY Parthenon chief economist, forecast a recession with economic growth rising by 1.14% in 2022, compared to 5.7% in 2021. Also, the IMF warned of an unsystematic economy, which they say increases the risk of global financial instability due to inflation, food crisis, higher interest rates, and war-driven energy, which could push the world to the brink of a recession. According to the IMF, the 3 largest economies in the world that include the United States, the Euro area, and China have continued to stall. And the International Money Fund's chief economist, Pierre-Olivier Gourinchas, was quoted saying, "The worst is yet to come." And for many people, 2023 will feel like a recession. When experts warn that the world is about to be in a recession, we better listen carefully and take measures to help us prepare for what may lie ahead. We doubt they would put fear in people just for the heck of it. They must have studied the economy and everything that comes along with it, and are just letting us know so that we can be better prepared if a recession hits. Make sure to check out the next video. You're going to get a ton of value from this one. See you there.